The movie opens with a woman discussing her agreement with her husband about not cheating on him anymore. The contract is signed by the woman, Sawa, her husband, Shunsuke, her lover, Yuichiro, and his wife, Noriko. After signing it, Sawa and Yuichiro can't have any type of contact anymore. Sawa divorces Shunsuke and loses all the respect she had from her family and friends. Ashamed by her mistake, and heartbroken because she fell in love with Yuichiro, she moves to a coastal city where she can start her life over. She is a beautiful woman in her early 30s, with an innocent-looking face and a melancholic expression. Despite her beauty, she's very lonely. With no friends or relatives close by, Sawa has a depressing life. A few months after moving, she finds a job at a seafood restaurant as a waitress. In the beginning, she has some difficulties, but thankfully she has a patient boss. One day, Sawa is at home when she sees a flyer announcing a lecture in the city. The lecturer is none other than her former lover, Yuichiro. Sawa can't believe her bad luck. She hoped that she would never see him again. She still has feelings for him. The flyer triggers memories of them together. Remembering their moments of intimacy and passion fills Sawa with a sense of deep sadness that she can't be with him anymore. The next day she goes to the auditorium, where the lecture will take place out of curiosity. When she comes back home, she throws the flyer away, wishing she could toss her feelings just as easily. Her mind simmers with hectic emotions and thoughts as she tries hard not to think about Yuichiro. Sadly, she soon realizes she can do nothing to control her emotions. She's powerless. With slumped shoulders, she picks the flyer back up, knowing that there's no way for her to avoid him. On the day of the lecture, she wears makeup and nice clothes. Her previous anxiety is forgotten. She's eager to see Yuichiro again, to watch his reaction when he sees her after so long. She wonders if he still thinks about her, and if he can still feel the ghost of her touch, just like she does. Before leaving, Sawa catches a glimpse of herself in the mirror, smiling happily as if she's meeting a boyfriend, and she suddenly feels ridiculous. There she is, primping herself up for a man who didn't fight for their relationship. In a moment of resolve, she changes her clothes. When she arrives at the lecture, her heart is jumping out of her chest in anticipation. She hears the sound of his voice, and it's like a bomb for all her fears and anxiety. Yuichiro looks just like he did the last time she saw him. He's an ordinary-looking man, with shaggy hair and glasses. He has a soothing, patient voice. Sawa tries to hide as she watches him, afraid that he'll see her in the audience. There's a moment in which a kid in front of her asks a question, and Sawa makes eye contact with Yuichiro. The world around them comes to a standstill as they stare at each other from a distance. Yuichiro is speechless. Sawa is afraid of his reaction. Yuichiro is so nervous to see her there that he starts sweating, and his once calm voice trembles. They don't talk to each other, but Yuichiro mentions there's a park he would like to visit. After the lecture, Sawa goes to the park in the hopes of seeing him there. He never shows up. On her way back home, she catches a glimpse of him on the road, picking some samples of vegetation. She yells his name and watches as he runs after her. At the first bus stop, she gets down to search for him. Unbeknownst to her, he's on a truck close by, also looking for her, but their paths never cross. He sees her bus and goes after it, but she isn't there. Their muscles are already cramping after running everywhere, and they are tired. Yuichiro goes back home to his wife. His mind wanders to Sawa, though. He misses her. Seeing her again brought all his hidden feelings back. His wife, Noriko, notices that he looks absent-minded. She wonders if something happened, and he lies. Back at home, Sawa can't sleep. Her mind is flooded with images of Yuichiro. Knowing she won't be able to sleep, she goes to her work to drink something. Her boss, a man named Naoto, notices she looks morose and sits next to her. It's not the first time he has noticed her. People at their workplaces think Sawa is strange. She lived in Tokyo and abruptly moved to the countryside. She must be hiding something. Sawa promises she isn't hiding anything, but Naoto doesn't believe her. He mentions that he once lived in Tokyo too, but he had to leave after murdering a co-worker. He's joking, and Sawa genuinely laughs for the first time since she started working with him. The truth is that his wife passed away. He didn't want to stay in the city anymore and bought the restaurant. Now he is alone. Sawa understands him. She wishes Yuichiro ceased to exist. It would make her life easier. She wouldn't miss him as often. The next day, Sawa goes back to the park. This time, though, she meets Yuichiro. Her heart warms in happiness as soon as she sees him. She watches him for a moment, smiling warmly. It takes some time for Yuichiro to notice her, and he doesn't know what to say at first. Slowly, Sawa breaks the ice with him again. And then it's like they were never apart. They shouldn't be talking to each other again, not after signing the contract. Hidden in the woods, though, they can pretend they are just a couple in love. Weeks go by, and they are always seeing each other in secret. During that time, they barely speak. They don't touch. Their distance only heightens the desire they feel for each other. It starts getting harder to keep the distance. Every day, Yuichiro goes back home to his wife. One day, Noriko sees him getting ready to leave for work, and questions why he's working on his off day. He comes up with an excuse that he's studying fireflies, and she believes him. Noriko asks him not to get home late, because she wants to try for a baby. Yuichiro suddenly feels bad about how he's deceiving her again, after swearing he wouldn't. Sawa waits for him for a long time under the rain. She believes he won't come, that he's left her again, and it hurts. On her way to the bus stop, he shows up and apologizes for his tardiness. Sawa ignores him, knowing that he's repeating his patterns again. Yukihiro, overwhelmed with guilt, informs Sawa that they can't see each other again. Sawa agrees with him. While she was waiting for him with bated breath, she imagined what would happen to her if he didn't show up. She would be sad again, heartbroken. Meanwhile, Yukihiro would go back to his lovely wife. It isn't fair to Sawa. She leaves and Yukihiro watches, already regretting breaking up with her. Before the bus can depart, he runs after Sawa. If that's the last time they will see each other, he wants to spend time with her. When they reach the bus station, they leave together. Suddenly, a loud honking sound catches their attention. Yukihiro feels his soul leaving his body when he sees that his wife has followed him. Noriko forces them to go to a hotel room to talk. She wants to hear their explanation about having an affair again. She's angry because Sawa promised that she would not see Yukihiro again. They had a contract for that. Sawa explains that nothing happened between them. They were just watching fireflies. Noriko scoffs in disbelief. She's tired of being made a fool by her husband. She informs them that if they sleep together in front of her, she'll give up her marriage and allow them to leave their romance. Yukihiro tries to get control of the situation again, and in the middle of their skirmish, Noriko pushes Sawa and she falls. Noriko's hurt and angry at the two of them. She gave Yukihiro a second chance, and he promised he would do better. Before things can escalate, Sawa storms out of the room with her head hanging low. She knows she's wrong, and that Noriko is innocent in the situation. Instead of staying with Noriko and begging for her forgiveness, Yukihiro makes his choice. He goes after Sawa. Noriko is alone in the room, trying to make sense of what just happened. For months, she has been trying to make her relationship work with Yukihiro. It did, for some time, but only because Sawa left. Now that she's in the picture again, Noriko knows she'll lose her husband. Yukihiro follows Sawa until she gets to her station. She's ready to go home and never see him again, but he begs her to wait. He wants to be with her, but he wants to do it right. He has to divorce Noriko to be with Sawa. It's the only way. As she watches him going, she begs the universe to give him to her. It's all she wants. Months go by. Sawa and Yukihiro have been together all this time. He finally decided to leave Noriko. They go to the woods to wait for the fireflies. Sawa prepares a romantic picnic for them while Yukihiro works on his research. Their relationship is great. They are in the honeymoon stage when everything is beautiful and romantic. Yukihiro promises he will marry Sawa, and she believes him. People in town notice Sawa is dating a guy from Tokyo. Yukihiro can't move out just yet because of his work. Meanwhile, he has a half-life, going from one place to another. His boss warns him that he needs to be careful, otherwise he might lose his job. One day, when he's leaving to go back to Tokyo, he sees Sawa talking excitedly to her boss, Naoto. He's suspicious of them, afraid that Sawa will get tired of him never being around much. Naoto is teaching Sawa how to fish, as they became quite close over the months. He's romantically interested in her. He finds Sawa beautiful, smart, and funny. He wonders when she'll marry Yukihiro, but she thinks it's too early for that. Sawa feels comfortable enough with Naoto to confess that she and Yukihiro had an affair. Naoto is shocked that an innocent-looking woman such as Sawa would be capable of cheating. He tries not to judge her. It's good news for him that Yukihiro is still married. Maybe he has a chance. Later on, Sawa is waiting for Yukihiro when she receives a fax message. It's a sheet from Yukihiro's work talking about his absence for the last couple of days. Sawa is surprised and suspicious. It gets worse when he arrives home and hides the documents from her. The next day, he informs her that he'll be late again. Sawa can't take it anymore. She wants to know the reason why he's missing work and arriving late. After he leaves, she follows him. She watches him stop at an apartment building, but nothing happens. Hours later, she's still waiting for him when he shows up driving with his wife. They are smiling and looking happy. It's like a slap to Sawa's face. She can't believe he has been lying to her this whole time. It hurts. Now she can understand how Noriko felt. There's nothing else for her to do but go home. Back at home, she goes through his things to try and find something incriminating. Yukihiro arrives, and she quickly pretends to be asleep. He goes to the bedroom to see if she's awake, and she decides to talk to him. She wonders if he had fun drinking with his students, and he lies, saying he did. She knew where he was, and it wasn't drinking. After he leaves, she quietly cries. Things start getting bad for Sawa in town. Gossip that she's dating a married man runs free. Men start treating her with more familiarity, and women offend her. Even at her job, her co-workers are treating her badly. Naoto is the only one to treat her with decency. He notices that the gossip is making her sad, and comforts her. Sawa feels comfortable with Naoto, and confides in him her fears that Yukihiro is lying to her. She's afraid that he's leading her on, not planning to divorce Noriko at all. Naoto thinks he's a selfish man, and that Sawa is too good for him. When she returns from work, Yukihiro subtly asks why she was at the beach with Naoto, and she explains. He's jealous of her relationship with him, afraid that she'll cheat on him. Their honeymoon phase is officially over. They barely see each other anymore, and when they do, they don't talk as much. The following day, Sawa spends the whole day with Naoto. With him, she feels she can be honest and not hide her true feelings. Naoto doesn't judge her. At least, that's what she believed. As they talk, Naoto suddenly changes his behavior after she complains about Yukiro spending time with his wife. Naoto pushes her into the water and berates her for her selfish behavior. He lied to her about his wife passing away. What happened was that his wife cheated and left him for another man. Her selfish act changed his entire life for the worse. He lost his job because of the gossip, and he had to move out of his town. He also admits that he was the one to spread the gossip about her around town. He wants her to suffer the pain she inflicted on others, of being ostracized and judged. Sawa starts crying and leaves him behind. Once again, she feels terribly lonely. On his way to her house, Yukiro notices her hat in Naoto's car. His hackles instantly raise. To make things worse, Naoto smirks at him as if he knows something Yukiro doesn't. Back at Sawa's house, Yukiro confronts her about her hat and Naoto. Sawa can't believe his gall at judging her when he's been lying to her face the whole time. After Naoto, she can't take it anymore. She finally admits she knows Yukiro is back with Noriko, and that he's not planning to get divorced. Yukiro gets mad at her, even mentioning that it was easy to divorce her husband. It dawns on Sawa that their relationship was doomed to failure from the beginning. They can't pretend that they will be happy anymore. Yukiro desperately tries to change her mind, but she leaves him. The next day, she wakes alone in the bedroom. Yukiro slept in the living room. She watches him for a moment, not knowing what to do. She's tired of always being sad and desperate. She leaves without saying goodbye, not knowing Yukiro is awake. Sawa goes to Tokyo to confront Noriko once and for all. In the meantime, Yukiro goes to talk to Naoto. Naoto is passive-aggressive with Yukiro, but he's surprisingly stoic. Yukiro loves Sawa, and he will do anything for her. He wants to know what Naoto's deal is with Sawa. As for Sawa, Noriko allows her to enter her home. And Sawa has a surprise. Noriko is in a wheelchair. She suffered an accident that hurt her spine, and she won't walk for some time. Knowing why Sawa is there, she explains that Yukiro went to see her about the divorce and found out she suffered an accident. He felt bad about her being alone, and decided to take some time off work to help her out. It was platonic and probably out of guilt. Sawa feels ridiculous for being jealous, and apologizes to Noriko for her deception. She didn't deserve to lose her husband like that. Noriko chuckles and accepts her apology. Her accident made her realize there are more important things in life. She's ready to move on. Noriko only has one request. She wants to continue calling Yukiro by his name. Sawa doesn't accept that. She won't allow Yukiro to have contact with Noriko. Noriko's surprised that she would refuse, but she finally understands the difference between her and Sawa. Sawa is selfish, to the point that she will do whatever she needs to get what she wants. Meanwhile, Noriko gave up her whole life to make Yukiro happy. After her talk with Noriko, Sawa feels relieved. Now she knows for sure Yukiro loves her and he wants to marry her. When she goes back home, she runs to their spot in the woods to meet him. She confesses to him that she talked to Noriko, and she shouldn't have doubted him. Yukiro isn't mad at her. He wants to make things official, once and for all. Sawa jumps on Yukiro and they hug. The next day, Sawa goes to her workplace to talk to Naoto. Her coworkers don't even greet her. Sawa apologizes for her presence there, and explains that she only wants to be with the person she loves. In the meantime, Yukiro goes to the mall to buy a ring for her. The day of Yukiro's divorce finally arrives. He informs Sawa that he plans to get married to her the very next day, and she happily agrees. She watches him leave for Tokyo with a big smile on her face. She can barely contain her giddiness. Yukiro goes to their spot in the woods to hide the engagement ring he bought there. Later on, Sawa meets Naoto's sister, one of the women at her workplace who didn't like her. The sister approaches Sawa and takes her to talk to Naoto. She wants Naoto to apologize to Sawa for his behavior. They are in silence for a long moment. It's awkward. Naoto finally explains to Sawa that the way he treated her was a reflection of his anger toward his ex. He saw her in Sawa. He apologizes to her, but Sawa says she understands. He was right, after all. She is selfish. She apologizes to him too, though he doesn't think it's necessary. He invites her to dance with him, and she agrees. Surprisingly, her co-workers aren't as cold to her anymore. They help her wear a traditional dress for the dance. Naoto's sister, who only treated Sawa badly, confesses to her that once she thought about cheating on her husband too. She never did it, though. The reason why she was so cold to Sawa is she felt jealous of her. She did what she never dared to do. While Sawa is at the festival, Noriko takes Yukiro to the station. She hands him the divorce papers with no issues, and she looks happy. As she told Sawa, she is ready to move on. When she looks at Yukiro, though, and sees his serene smile, her feelings of anger, disappointment, and betrayal overwhelm her. She can't believe that while she suffers from heartache, he will forget her and marry the woman he loves. It's painful to think that she loved him so much, and he didn't love her back. She did everything for him. She took him back after he cheated the first time, and forgave him. only for him to do it again, this time even worse. With bitterness, she speeds up, much to Yuichiro's confusion. She stoically informs him that she will take him home. Sawa calls, wanting to check on him, but Noriko abruptly turns the car. Yuichiro starts getting scared that she will do something crazy. While Sawa dances without any worry at the festival, Noriko admits to Yuichiro that she lied about her accident. After he left her to be with Sawa, she was so depressed that she did something drastic, hurting herself in the process. The truth is that she can't be without Yuichiro. Her love became an obsession. Yuichiro's blood runs cold. It dawns on him that he's in danger. She keeps asking him why he didn't choose her. She would have made him happy. Yuichiro doesn't know what to answer. He has a fondness for Noriko, but the one he really loves is Sawa. He can't lie to her about that. He admits that he loves Sawa. Noriko swerves the car, and they fall from a cliff. Yuichiro thinks about Sawa as they fall. Fireworks explode in the sky. Sawa watches with a huge grin on her face. She finally feels hopeful that her life will follow the right path. She will finally be with Yuichiro, and they will be happy for the rest of their lives. She can't wait to marry him the following day. They promised they would celebrate at their spot in the woods, watching the fireflies. Yuichiro never gets home. The following day, Sawa finds out why. He, unfortunately, passed away in the accident. His body is badly damaged. Sawa is in shock. It takes a long time for her to make sense of what happened. It's only when she sees his bloodied clothes and glasses that she starts crying. The police explain that Yuichiro passed away right away. Noriko survived. To make things worse, their divorce wasn't registered yet, so his body will go to Noriko's family. The police suggest she talks to them about it. Sawa sees the receipt for a ring and tries to look for it, but she can't find it. She's so distraught that when a police officer tries to comfort her, she pushes him away. Sawa is mad with rage. She can't believe fate would be so cruel as to separate them like that. She yells for him, but he doesn't come. Days go by, and she's depressed. Nothing makes sense in her life anymore. Her previously bright future is dark and bleak. She wants to know the truth. When Noriko is discharged from the hospital, Sawa goes after her. Noriko leaves the hospital smiling, as if everything is fine. Sawa wants to throttle her. Noriko sees her standing across the street like a ghost. She doesn't feel an ounce of pity for Sawa or Yuichiro. She doesn't feel guilty. Sawa follows her. They sit side by side on the bus. Noriko coldly lies to Sawa that Yuichiro apologized to her and wanted her back. Sawa doesn't believe her at all. She knows Yuichiro bought a ring for her, and that he was going to get the divorce papers from her. When Noriko is leaving, she trips and falls on the ground. Sawa helps her up. Noriko informs her that she will hate her forever. She truly believes Sawa is responsible for her own actions. She got away from eliminating Yuichiro, and Sawa won't even get closure. Noriko is actually glad that she won't have to worry about Yuichiro anymore. She feels vindicated, that Sawa will know what it feels like to have the love of her life taken from her. It's the best feeling in the world. On her way home, Sawa feels numb. Her talk to Noriko didn't give her closure, as she hoped. She wanted to hear the truth, but instead, she got blamed for his passing. She wonders if it was truly her fault. If she didn't go to his lecture, he wouldn't have seen her again. They wouldn't be together, and he wouldn't have passed. Overwhelmed by her grief, Sawa decides to do something drastic. She walks on the train rails, hoping for a train to appear and end her suffering. Sobbing, she lies down on the rails and waits. As she stays there, looking at the sky, she remembers her moments with Yuichiro in the woods. The train is coming, and Sawa is ready to go. She closes her eyes, but then a firefly lands on her hand. The bug climbs to her ring finger, and Sawa sees it as a sign from Yuichiro. It's not her time yet. When the bug flies away toward the sky, Sawa quickly stands up. Later on, she finds out that she's pregnant with Yuichiro's child. Knowing that she has a piece of him with her gives her the strength to move on. She has a baby boy that, much like his father, loves fireflies. One day, he and his class go to Sawa and Yuichiro's spot in the woods. There, the curious little boy finds the ring Yuichiro hid years back. The ring Sawa never got to own. The boy gives it to his friend, a little girl. The ring has a small green stone that represents the fireflies that brought Sawa and Yuichiro back together.